Family, they say, is supposed to be forever. You fight, you forgive, and you move on. Because blood is thicker than pride. That's what my mother always said. But I've learned that sometimes it's not hate that breaks families apart. It's disappointment. It's the moment you realize that no matter how much you give, one small lie, one careless accusation, can burn everything you built to ashes. It started like any other Thursday. The morning sun spilled across my small kitchen, soft and warm, and I could hear the muffled sound of cartoons coming from the living room. The smell of oatmeal filled the air, with honey for Ellie and just a bit of brown sugar for Jamie. "Ellie, finish your cereal before it gets cold," I called. "I'm done," the 11-year-old shouted back, her voice full of confidence. She was always the easy one, thoughtful, polite, old for her age. Jamie, on the other hand. Well, Jamie was 7, and 7 meant chaos. He was jumping on the couch again. The same old couch my sister had given me when she moved into her new place. The cushions had lost their firmness long ago, and every bounce made a little squeak that sent a twinge through my jaw. "Jamie," I said firmly, turning off the stove. "No jumping on the couch. Remember what we said?" He froze mid-bounce, his curls falling into his eyes. "But I'm pretending it's lava." "You can pretend it's lava on the floor," I said, smiling despite myself. "But couches aren't trampolines, sweetheart." He groaned dramatically, slid off the couch and muttered, "You're no fun." That was Jamie, bright, curious, full of imagination, and full of drama. My sister Natalie was a single mother of 2. She'd been working herself to the bone lately. Double shifts at the clinic, sometimes overnight. Money was tight, and babysitters were expensive. I'd offered to help. It felt natural. Family helps family. It wasn't easy. I had a job too, though part-time. And my evenings were mostly spent juggling house chores, meals, and homework supervision. But I didn't mind. Ellie and Jamie were like my own kids. I'd been there since the day they were born. That day, though, that Thursday, something in the air felt heavier. Jamie was irritable. He'd refused his breakfast at first, sulked when Ellie got the last pancake, and threw a fit when I told him no more screen time. When Natalie texted me at noon, "Running late again. Can you keep them till 7?" I sighed, smiled to myself, and texted back, "Of course. We'll be fine, don't worry." Oh, the irony. By the afternoon, Jamie had calmed down. Ellie was reading in her room, and Jamie was drawing on the kitchen table, humming to himself. I was cleaning up, wiping crumbs, folding the laundry, feeling proud of how smoothly the day had turned around. That's when I heard the thud. A sharp, heavy sound, like something falling. I rushed into the living room and froze. Jamie had climbed back onto the couch, trying to jump from one armrest to the other. He missed, crashed onto the cushions, and slid to the floor, thankfully unhurt. "Jamie," I said, my voice sharper than intended. "What did I just say about the couch?" He looked up, lip trembling, trying to gauge if I was angry. "You scared me," he said softly. "I scared you?" I almost laughed, relief and exasperation mixing inside me. "You scared me. You could have hit your head, Jamie. You know better." He crossed his arms, glaring. "You're not my mom." That one stung more than I expected. "No," I said quietly. "But I care about you. That's why I'm here." He didn't answer, just turned away sulking. I sighed, deciding to give him space. I went back to the kitchen, started making spaghetti for dinner. The rest of the afternoon was quiet. Too quiet in hindsight. At 7:15, I heard Natalie's car pull into the driveway. The kids perked up immediately. Ellie ran to the door, excited. Jamie followed, but slower. eyes puffy and red. When Natalie stepped inside, her hair messy from work, her eyes tired but kind, Jamie suddenly broke into sobs. He ran into her arms, crying hysterically. "Mom! Mom, she had a man in the house. She said I couldn't eat. We didn't eat all day." My mind went blank. "What?" Natalie froze. Her expression went from exhaustion to pure rage in seconds. "What did you say?" Jamie buried his face in her shoulder, still crying. Ellie stood behind them, frowning, confused. "That's not true." Natalie raised a hand to silence her, eyes darting toward me. "You had a man here and didn't feed my kids?" I felt the blood drain from my face. "No." "Natalie, you have cameras, remember? The ones you installed by the door and kitchen? Check them. There was no one here. I made spaghetti. He refused to eat. Ask Ellie." But she wasn't listening. Her jaw tightened. "I think you should leave. Now." "Natalie, please. Now!" she shouted, "before I call the police." Her voice cracked at the end, but the damage was done. Ellie started crying. Jamie clung to her leg, still sniffling. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to process what was happening. And then I did the only thing I could. I grabbed my purse, whispered to Ellie, "It's okay," and walked out the door. Outside, the air felt like ice. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at my hands on the steering wheel, shaking. A 7-year-old's lie had just destroyed years of trust. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jamie's tear-streaked face, his small hands clutching Natalie's shirt. I could still hear her voice, sharp, cold, full of disbelief. By morning, I was numb. I didn't even have breakfast. I just sat at the table staring at my phone, waiting. When it finally rang around 11 a.m., I almost dropped it. "Natalie?" I answered, voice trembling. She was crying. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she said between sobs. I watched the footage. There was no man. "You cooked dinner. Ellie ate. I'm so sorry." My stomach twisted, relief mixed with something bitter. "What did I tell you?" I whispered. "I told you he was lying." I know, she said quickly. "He admitted he made it up. He said he was mad because you wouldn't let him play on the couch." I didn't think. "No, you didn't." My voice cracked. "You didn't think at all, Natalie." There was silence. Then quietly, "Can we talk, please? Maybe you can come over tomorrow." I closed my eyes. The words formed in my throat, cold and heavy. "No, Natalie. I won't be babysitting anymore." "What? Don't do this. He's just a kid. You know how kids are. He didn't mean to." "He accused me of having a man in your house and starving your children," I snapped. "Do you realize what could have happened if the police came? If someone reported me? That's not a harmless lie, Natalie. That's dangerous." "He's 7, she yelled. "You're being ridiculous." "I'm being careful," I shot back. "You should try it sometime." There was a long pause. Then she said quietly, "You're punishing him. You're punishing me. Over a mistake." I took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. "I'm protecting myself, that's all." And I hung up. That was the day everything changed for good. Our family group chat turned cold. My mother called later, her tone full of disappointment. "You're overreacting," she said. "He's just a little boy. He didn't understand the consequences." "I almost got accused of child neglect, Mom," I said flatly. "Still," she sighed, "you should forgive. Family's family." I stared at the wall for a long time after that call. Family's family. But what about respect? What about boundaries? The thing about forgiveness is, it doesn't mean much when the person who hurt you doesn't truly understand what they've done. A week later, Natalie sent me another message. "The kids miss you. Please, let's talk." I didn't reply. But that night, I dreamed of Jamie, running toward me, smiling this time, holding out his arms. Auntie, are you mad at me? When I woke up, my pillow was wet with tears. A month passed before I heard from Natalie again. The silence between us was heavy, the kind that doesn't echo, doesn't breathe, just hangs. Every time my phone buzzed, I half expected her name to appear. Sometimes I hoped for it. Other times I prayed it wouldn't. I'd filled my days with work and long walks. At night I'd make dinner for one and turn on the TV just to drown out the quiet. My apartment, once full of laughter and crayons and little socks lying everywhere, felt lifeless. Then one afternoon, there was a knock. When I opened the door, Ellie stood there. Not Natalie, just Ellie. She looked older somehow, her hair a little longer, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "Mom doesn't know I came," she said quickly, glancing down the hall. I missed you." For a second I couldn't speak. My throat tightened, and I had to blink a few times before I found words. "Come here," I whispered. She ran into my arms, hugging me tight. I felt her trembling. We sat at the kitchen table, and she told me about school, about her science project, about Jamie. Though she avoided saying his name too often. "He's been acting weird," she finally admitted. "Sometimes he says he didn't mean to lie. Other times he says you did have someone over, just to make Mom mad. I don't know which one's true anymore." I rubbed my temples. "It's okay, honey. You don't have to take sides." But I could tell she already had. Children feel tension like weather. Invisible but everywhere. "Does Mom still hate you?" she asked softly. The question hit me like a stone. "I don't think she hates me," I said. "She's just hurt." "She yells a lot now," Ellie said quietly. "About money, about work, about us. I think she's sad." I wanted to hug her again, to say something comforting, but the words wouldn't come. When she finally left, she promised to visit again. But she didn't. Gossip spreads faster than forgiveness. At the grocery store, the cashier, a woman who'd known my family for years, avoided my eyes. I caught snippets of whispered conversations when I passed by. She kicked her nephew out. She left her sister stranded. I heard she had a man over with the kids there. Each word burned like acid. It didn't matter that none of it was true. It didn't matter that there were cameras. The lie had already taken root, twisting into something unrecognizable, something people could feed on. My mother didn't help. She wasn't cruel, just careless. She told people there'd been a misunderstanding. And in small towns, misunderstanding always means something scandalous. Then one evening she called. "I think it's time you apologize to your sister," she said firmly. I froze mid-step. "Apologize? For what?" "For letting this go on so long. She's exhausted. You know how much she's been through. You're the older one. Be the bigger person." I laughed hollow and sharp. "The bigger person? Mom, she accused me of starving her kids and bringing strange men into her house. She threatened to call the police. I didn't do anything wrong." "She believed her son," my mother said quietly. "Wouldn't you have done the same if you thought a child was in danger?" The question stung because it was fair. If the roles were reversed, maybe I would have reacted the same way. But forgiveness isn't just about understanding why someone hurt you. It's about trusting they won't do it again. "I'm not ready," I said finally. And I wasn't. Days turned into weeks. Then one night around midnight, my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. It was Natalie. Her voice was soft, hoarse. "I can't sleep," she whispered. "I keep thinking about that day, about how fast I believed him. I feel like I broke something I can't fix." The honesty in her voice was disarming. I didn't know what to say. You did, I said quietly. You broke trust. I know, she said, and I could hear her crying. But I can't do this alone. The kids ask about you. Jamie asks why you hate him. I don't know what to tell him. I don't hate him, I said. He's just not safe for me to be around right now. Safe? She repeated. He's a child. He's a child who made a lie sound like truth. I snapped. And you made it real. There was silence. Just the faint sound of her breathing. I wish you'd come back, she whispered, even for a day. I almost said yes. Almost. But instead I whispered, "Good night, Natalie," and hung up. It's strange how grief doesn't always come from death. Sometimes it's from the quiet ending of something you thought would last forever. I used to think family was unbreakable. But now, when I thought of Natalie, I felt tired. Like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't choose. Then one weekend, I ran into her at the park. She was with the kids, sitting under a tree, a picnic blanket spread out. Ellie spotted me first. Her eyes widened, then softened into a smile. She waved. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to turn around, but something in her face made me walk over. Natalie looked up startled. Her expression flickered between guilt and longing. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." Jamie was playing with a soccer ball a few feet away. He noticed me, froze, then lowered his head. "Do you want to sit?" Natalie asked. I hesitated, then nodded. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the kids' laughter. "I didn't plan this," she said finally. "I swear, I just didn't think I'd ever see you here again." "I come here sometimes," I said, "to clear my head." She nodded slowly. "I miss you." I didn't answer. Jamie kicked the ball toward us and ran after it. He stopped a few feet away, clutching it against his chest. "Hi," he mumbled. "Hi, Jamie." He looked up at me, eyes shiny. "I'm sorry." The words hit harder than I expected. "I didn't mean to lie," he said quickly. I was mad, and I thought if I said something, Mom would come faster. But then she got mad at you, and I couldn't stop it. Natalie's hand went to her mouth, trembling. I swallowed hard. "Jamie," I said softly, "do you understand what happens when you say something like that?" He nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. I thought I was in trouble. I didn't know it would make you in trouble too. I reached out slowly, touched his shoulder. "I forgive you," I said, and for the first time in months, I meant it. Natalie exhaled, her eyes wet. "Thank you," she whispered. "But forgiveness doesn't erase the past, it just makes it bearable." We sat there for a long time, the four of us, under the shade of that tree. For a moment it almost felt like old times, almost. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized something painful, yet freeing. I could love them, and still choose to protect my peace. The park encounter lingered in my mind for weeks. It replayed in fragments. Jamie's trembling apology, Ellie's cautious smile, Natalie's tearful eyes. Each piece felt like a shard of something once whole. I didn't know what to do with it. I forgave Jamie, yes. But forgiveness isn't a door you close and walk away from. It's a hallway. You take one step, and it echoes. Sometimes it echoes forever. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The city's sounds, cars, sirens, laughter, hummed faintly through the window. I used to hate noise. Now it was my lullaby. It reminded me I wasn't alone. But loneliness and solitude aren't the same. Solitude is a choice. Loneliness isn't. When my phone buzzed, I didn't even need to look at the name. I knew it was Natalie. Natalie, are you awake? Me. Yeah. Natalie, can we talk? In person. No kids this time. I hesitated. My gut twisted. But I typed back before I could change my mind. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the Willow. The Willow Cafe was our old spot. Small, tucked between a florist and a bookstore. We'd spent countless mornings there over the years, sipping cheap lattes and talking about everything from bad dates to mortgage stress. When I arrived, she was already there. Her hair was pulled back, her face bare of makeup. And for the first time in a long while, she looked tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Hey, she said softly as I sat down. Hey. The waitress brought me coffee without asking. Muscle memory from years of habit. Natalie's fingers fiddled with her cup. I don't even know where to start, she murmured. I feel like I've said sorry 100 times, but it never sounds enough. Because it's not about the word, I said quietly. It's about what comes after it. She nodded, looking down. You're right. I broke something, and I can't put it back together. Silence sat between us like a third person. Finally, she said, Jamie's been having nightmares. He wakes up crying, saying he sees police lights and that I'm yelling at you. He's scared you'll never talk to him again. My chest tightened. He's just a kid, I whispered. I know, she said. But it's more than guilt. It's confusion. He doesn't understand how words can hurt that much. And honestly, neither did I, until I watched them tear us apart. I sipped my coffee, staring at the swirling cream. You didn't believe me, I said softly. That's the part that keeps replaying. You didn't even check. You just believed him. Tears welled in her eyes. Because I've always believed my kids, she said. I've had to. They're all I have. I didn't respond. There was truth in her words, even if it hurt. She reached across the table, her hand trembling slightly. Can we start over? I'm not asking for you to babysit again, just to be my sister again. I stared at her hand, then at her face. I don't know if I can, I said honestly. But maybe we can try. Her lip quivered. That's all I'm asking. For the first time in months when I left the cafe, I didn't feel anger. I felt something else, something like relief. Fragile but real. A week later, I drove to her house. The same small white house with the squeaky porch and overgrown garden. It looked smaller than I remembered, like time had folded it in on itself. Jamie was in the front yard kicking a ball around. When he saw my car, his face lit up. Auntie, he yelled, running toward me. I bent down and caught him in a hug, his tiny arms wrapping tightly around my neck. Are you really coming back? He asked, his voice hopeful and small. Just for a visit, I said. But we'll see how it goes. He grinned. Mom said maybe you'll make spaghetti again. I laughed. Maybe. Inside, the house was warm, messy, lived in. It smelled like detergent and toast, the smell of ordinary life. Ellie sat on the couch reading, her hair in a messy bun. She looked up and smiled shyly. Hi. Hi, sweetheart. Natalie emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Hey, you made it. I did, I said. Dinner was awkward at first. The kids were chatty, filling the silence Natalie and I couldn't. But as time went on, the tension began to fade. Laughter found its way back into the room like sunlight through clouds. After dinner, the kids ran upstairs to play. Natalie poured us each a glass of wine. I've missed this, she said softly. Just normal. Yeah, I said, tracing my finger along the rim of the glass. She hesitated. You know, after everything, I realized something. It wasn't just Jamie's lie that broke us. It was all the little cracks we ignored before that. The unspoken things. I looked at her surprised. "You've always been the responsible one," she continued. "You helped me with bills, watched the kids, fixed things, I think." Part of me resented that. I felt like the little sister who couldn't keep up. Her confession hung in the air. "I never saw it that way," I said quietly. "I just wanted to help." "I know," she said. But it made me feel small, and when Jamie said what he did, it gave me a chance to feel powerful for once, to protect them, even if it meant hurting you. The honesty cut deep, but it also explained everything. I exhaled. "You don't have to compete with me, Natalie." She smiled faintly. "Old habits die hard." We sat there for a long time, sipping wine, letting the past unravel between us, thread by thread. When I left that night, she hugged me at the door. "Thank you for coming back," she whispered. I nodded. "Let's take it slow." That night I couldn't sleep. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's about deciding it won't control you anymore. And for the first time, I felt free. Things got better, slowly. I started visiting once a week. We'd cook together, take the kids to the park, even have movie nights again. The old rhythm began to return, though quieter, more fragile. Then one evening, it all nearly fell apart again. I arrived early one Saturday to surprise them with breakfast. When I walked in, the kids were at the table eating cereal, and Natalie was on the phone, her voice low, urgent. She didn't see me at first. "I told you not to call me here," she hissed into the phone. "No, she doesn't know. She can't know. I'll fix it." She froze when she turned and saw me standing there. The silence was deafening. "Who was that?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Her face went pale. "No one. Just work stuff." "Work stuff," I repeated. "You just said I can't know." She swallowed hard. "It's complicated." The kids were staring now, their spoons frozen mid-air. I gestured toward the hallway. "Let's talk outside." We stepped onto the porch, and I crossed my arms. "Start talking," she sighed, rubbing her temples. It was Mark, my ex. He's been trying to get money from me, threatening to tell people lies about me online. He says he has pictures from years ago, before I met him. But he'll make them look recent. "I didn't want to worry you." I stared at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you'd tell me to go to the police," she said bitterly. "And I can't. I can't deal with another scandal. Not after what happened last time." Her words hit me hard. "Natalie, you can't hide things like this," I said. "Secrets are what destroyed us before." "I know," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "But I'm scared. I don't want to lose everything again." I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't the sister who'd betrayed me anymore. She was just human, flawed, scared, trying. I took a deep breath. "Okay, then we handle it together. But you have to promise me, no more lies. Not to me, not to anyone." She nodded, trembling. "I promise." We spent the next few days dealing with it, gathering screenshots, blocking numbers, filing a police report. It wasn't easy. The whole thing stirred up memories neither of us wanted to face. But this time, we didn't face it alone. There were arguments, of course. Old habits still surfaced. Her defensiveness, my distrust. But we learned to stop, breathe, and try again. And slowly, piece by piece, something new began to form. Not the same bond we'd had before. Something different. Something stronger because it had been broken. That night, After the police confirmed they'd traced Mark's messages to a fake account, Natalie cried, not out of fear, out of release. I sat beside her on the couch, and she leaned against me like she used to when we were kids. "Do you think we'll ever be okay again?" she asked quietly. I thought for a moment. "I think we already are," I said. 2 years had passed. It didn't feel like 2 years. Sometimes when I'd visit Natalie's house and see Jamie running toward me with his backpack, it felt like that day, the day of the lie, had happened yesterday. Other times when I'd catch us laughing over coffee like nothing ever happened, it felt like a lifetime ago. Time doesn't heal. It teaches you how to live with the scar. Life, in its strange, quiet way, had moved on. Jamie was 9 now, curious, full of questions and obsessed with soccer. Ellie was turning 13, teetering between childhood and adolescence, with all the fierce independence that came with it. Natalie had gotten a promotion at her job. I had started my own small business, a home design studio. Things were stable, simple, peaceful even, but peace is never permanent. It was a late Sunday afternoon when Natalie called. Her voice sounded calm, but there was a tremor beneath it. "Can you come over?" she asked. "It's about Jamie." When I arrived, she was pacing the living room. Jamie sat on the couch, his face pale, eyes rimmed red. "What happened?" I asked. Natalie looked at me, then at him. "He got in trouble at school." Jamie's voice was small. "I didn't mean to." "Didn't mean to what?" I said, sitting down beside him. He swallowed hard. "There's a boy in my class, Leo. He said his dad doesn't live with them, and I told everyone it was because his dad went to jail." Natalie sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "The teacher called me. Apparently Leo cried and told the counselor. They had to call his mom." I frowned. "Why did you say that, Jamie?" He looked down at his hands. Because he lied first. He said his dad was a pilot. But everyone knows that's not true." He made me feel dumb. It hit me like a wave, a familiar pattern. "You wanted people to believe you," I said softly. He nodded. I didn't think it would make him cry. I just didn't want to be the one who looked stupid. Natalie sat down beside us. "Jamie," she said, her voice breaking a little. "Do you remember what happened years ago, when you said things about your aunt that weren't true?" He nodded slowly, and how that made her feel. He looked up at me, guilt in his eyes. "Bad. Worse than bad," I said gently. "It almost broke our family apart." He blinked, tears gathering in the corners of his eyes. "I'm sorry." I smiled softly. "Then don't be like that anymore. Being right isn't worth hurting someone." He threw his arms around me, burying his face in my shoulder. For a moment I felt something shift, something healing not just in him, but in me too. That night, after the kids went to bed, Natalie and I sat on the porch, the soft hum of crickets filling the silence. "You handled that well," she said. I smiled faintly. "I guess I've had some experience." She laughed quietly. Then her tone grew serious. "I've been thinking about what you said last year, about no more lies. I've been keeping one, not a bad one, just a hard one." I raised an eyebrow. "You?" She took a deep breath. "I've been seeing someone." "Really?" She nodded. "His name's Daniel. We met at work. He's kind, steady. The kids like him. But I didn't tell you because I was scared you'd think I was repeating the same mistakes. Letting someone new in without thinking." I leaned back, processing that. "Nat, you're allowed to be happy. You don't need my permission." She smiled weakly. "Maybe not, but I needed your approval." I reached for her hand. "Then you have it." Her eyes shimmered in the porch light. "Thank you." And for the first time in years, she looked at peace. But life has a way of testing peace, right when you start believing it's real. 2 weeks later, everything cracked again. It started with a phone call, Natalie's number, 1:17 a.m. My heart jumped. Nothing good ever comes from calls at that hour. I answered. "Natalie." Her voice was frantic. "The house, there's been a fire." "What?" "Everyone's okay," she said quickly, choking on tears. "The kids are safe, Daniel's fine, but the kitchen's gone. Everything gone." "I'm coming." When I got there, the street was lit by flashing red and blue. Smoke curled from the windows like black ghosts. Firefighters moved in and out shouting orders. Natalie stood wrapped in a blanket, soot on her cheeks, eyes wide and dazed. The kids clung to her, shivering. I rushed to her side. "What happened?" "An electrical short," she whispered. "The old wiring. I was supposed to fix it months ago." I looked at her, and for the first time saw pure fear. Not of loss, but of failure. "Hey," I said, gripping her shoulders. "You're all alive. That's what matters." She nodded weakly. "But where are we going to go?" "You're coming with me," I said without hesitation. The next few days were chaos. Insurance calls, paperwork, emergency hotel rooms. But they stayed with me in my apartment, which suddenly felt too small, but also, somehow, right. Jamie and Ellie turned the living room into a fortress of blankets. Natalie slept on the couch. Every night I'd find her awake, staring out the window. "I keep thinking about everything I lost," she said one night. "The house, the photos, the things Mom left us." "You didn't lose the memories," I said softly. "You just lost the proof." She smiled faintly. "You always know what to say." "Yeah, well, I've had practice." Weeks passed. Repairs began. Life, once again, found a rhythm. But it wasn't the same. It was better. Natalie started therapy. Jamie joined a soccer team. Ellie began writing. Her stories always about family, forgiveness, and finding home. And one evening, months later, as we sat on my balcony watching the sunset bleed into the horizon, Natalie turned to me and said something that made my throat tighten. "You know," she whispered, "that fire didn't destroy my life. It saved it. It burned away everything I used to hide behind. The guilt, the pride, the fear of needing help. What was left was just me." I looked at her and smiled. "And she's doing pretty damn well." She laughed. "You think?" "I know." A year later, when the house was rebuilt, we had a family barbecue to celebrate. The kids chased each other around the yard. Daniel manned the grill. And for once there were no shadows between us. Jamie ran up, tugging on my sleeve. "Auntie," he said breathlessly, "remember when I told that big lie?" I smiled. "I remember." He grinned. "I told my class about it, for our biggest mistake project. My teacher said it was really brave." "Brave," I said. He nodded. "Because I said the truth even if it was ugly." My chest tightened with pride. "You're growing up, kid." He beamed and ran off again. Natalie came up beside me, watching him. "You know," she said softly, "maybe that's what all this was about. Learning how to tell the truth, even when it hurts." "Maybe," I said. The smell of grilled food filled the air, the sound of laughter mingling with the soft hum of summer. And in that moment, surrounded by family, scars and all, I realized something. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to remember and love anyway. Years later, I would tell this story to Ellie when she left for college, and to Jamie when he graduated high school. They would roll their eyes and say, "We know, Auntie, you've told us 100 times." And I would smile, because the story wasn't just about a lie. It was about what came after: truth, healing, and the kind of love that doesn't need to be perfect to last.